there. Slowly we'll understand. So now let us understand something new, that is called harness. New topic. So let us understand something about harness. Harness meaning some kind of design or some kind of look and feel. So some kind of design or look and feel. Now I am seeing the screen. Okay, so here I can able to see one horse symbol to the top left, some word like Dev Studio and some header, and below that an image. All this is designed by PRPC. So this design meaning what they might have done here, they have included a section or an image like Pega Infinity, and they are including in OOTB things. Slowly they are loading it, right? Will there be any flow rule here? Will there be any flow rule? So I'm just launching the screen. There will not be any flow rule. If there is any flow rule, ID generation, all these things. So if I just log in, will there be any ID generated here? No, right? So the sections or whatever the look and feel I'm seeing, that is being loaded, but not because of the fractions or sections. This is because of something called harness. So statement here is whatever the design I see, that is possible with something called harness. My harness will be loading sections indirectly. So I can see some screen here. This is because of some harness. Suppose if I launch this one, I can see some other kind of design. There I have seen one image. Here I'm not seeing. So there I have seen one top header freezed all the time. Here I'm not seeing. Meaning design there and here different, right? So this is possible because of another harness. Okay, suppose if I open Admin Studio, or if I open App Studio, or if I open User Portal, if I open User Portal, everywhere I can see different kind of look and feel. So that is possible with different harnesses. Different harnesses. Okay, fine. So this is something OOTB design meaning OOTB harness. If I launch the screen, some OOTB harness is loading. It is loading some sections, images, all the things. Similarly, here also, this is a completely OOTB design. I did not do anything. Now, harness requirements comes into picture from the work object scenarios. Suppose if I'm running my case, I can see some kind of look and feel. So out of all this, only this is what we have bothered. Why are we getting left screen? Okay, why are we getting this bottom part? Why are we getting this right side part? This is all because of harness. So once I run a flow rule, I can see some look and feel which is different from the earlier things. So there should be a harness to be called. My harness is somewhere loading my flow action and a section. So if my business requirement is not to show this left part, so don't show this one. Okay, or change from blue color to red color, or remove this right side part. So all uh, did we make all these kind of changes, or did we include these changes? No. So this is already there. So meaning there should be one big harness that should have a small portion related to this blue color, and that should have small portion related to this one, and it should have a portion related to our section. Just try to imagine. Okay, consider if I am running one flow rule, one harness is being launched. Okay, and in this harness I can able to see one small segment related to blue color, and small segment related to our complete case. Our flaction, section, buttons will be there, and small segment to this right side part, all these things. So in your real time or till now, we are completely concentrated working on this part only. Correct, right? Only on this part. Suppose if my BA is asking why are we showing this blue color, who gave you that requirement, change it, what you will do? So you should not say like this is not I have designed, this is completely OOTB, I'll not change this behavior, not possible. These kind of things are not allowed, right? So you are supposed to make modifications for this main harness. Okay, you have to make modifications for this harness. So if they're asking us to remove this, remove. Open harness, remove this segment and remove this segment and make this of big size. So accordingly. So first and foremost, what I'm saying, harness is being launched. Harness has to load all the sections. That's it, finally. And sections will be loading our controls or images designed accordingly. Fine. So will our business analyst will ask us to make any change for this harness? So this is the look and feel I'm seeing for this screen. For this, there should be a harness and it is loading Pega Infinity images, everything. Will we get any requirement to make modifications for these portals or for these screens? Not at
Yeah,
all.
maybe company.
No, 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 no. So this is completely Pega Studio, development studio, only for developer. So will business analyst spend that much amount of you, that much amount for you, just to make this differently look for our 10 developers? No, right? So there will never be any requirements to make modifications for these kind of things. So there will be harness changing options for the work objects, because this should be visible by the end users, not for the developers. Okay, fine. So meaning I can get a screen here. So this is also because of one harness. Will we get any modifications to change the harness? So will they ask us to change this to orange color or anything? So development related harness is not at all considered for the requirements. So you open Dev Studio. Suppose if I click on this, I'll be getting App Studio also, and there I'll get a screen. This is completely for the developer. Now harness, modifying harness comes into picture if it is related to work objects. Now if I run the flow rule, if I run this flow rule, I'll get a screen. So this is because of loading a harness and it will be loading our section. Now if I click on submit, what I have to get screen number 2. So maybe in the screen number 1 there is one harness with the name ABC. In screen number 2, what might be the harness? Look and feel is same, right? Look and feel is same, only this segment is changing, but our parent harness should be same, no? Look and feel is same harness. Now if I click on submit, same ABC, and if I click on submit, same, same. So here I can see blue color, edit buttons, actions, right side part. Here am I seeing the blue color part, blue color or actions, or anyway only, that's fine. So are we seeing this thank you for message here in this case? So somewhere look and feel is bit different. So some people might think same harness might be used, some people might think maybe different. So how can I check what is the harness used here? So harness is also kind of front end design only, right? All the front end can be checked from live UI. So you can just use live UI and I can see what is the harness name. For the previous screen, what is the harness name? That's what. Suppose if I go to process and if I remove this, change to default, what will happen? I'll get some extra dummy screen. Let us see. I'm getting some extra dummy screen. So is this the screen like what we have seen earlier? So this is different one, right? Different look and feel, meaning there should be different harness. There should be different harness. So if I run the flow rule, my requirement might be to include this one. That's optional. So this is also part of work object only now. If I wanted to collect some information before our ID generation, maybe terms and conditions or all other things. So this will be used by the real users only, right? So I should get a requirement to use these things, and we should be in a position to make modifications for this also. Okay, so this is also part of work object. Now if I click on submit button, I have to get, okay, let me change this to, actually if I run the flow, first I have to get this screen. If I click on submit button, this has to be submitted and it has to go to next screen actually, but it is not working in the personal edition. Okay, that's fine. So if I run the flow, it will show this screen, meaning part of work object. And if I create this one, part of work object, screen 2, 3, 4, and finally this one, all these are part of my work object IDs, right? So you will be getting requirements, harness changing requirements for these screens only. You will not get anything related to this screen or some other screens. So you'll be getting requirements asking you to make this design. So remove complete part. Okay, so don't put buttons here, put it at the top. So these kind of things. So these are valid requirements. What you have to do then? You have to customize the harness there. So here there should be some harness. And if I click on submit, here I'll get. So different look and feel, no? Meaning different harness. Consider harness as A. This should be B. Now if I click on submit, second assignment shape, what should be the harness? B. Third, and if I come to the last, something C, or some people are still saying B. So let me put the live UI and check. This is the first screen, right? So let me use live UI and let me check what is the harness. What is its name? New. Okay, so I can understand there is one harness with the name new. New is name. Okay, fine. Now if I click on submit button, I'll come to this screen. If I use live UI, what is its harness? Perform. Correct, right? Perform. Now if I come to assignment 2, 3, if I come to the last screen, let me use live UI and check. What is the harness? Blue color. It will be showing in blue color. What is its name? Conform, meaning different harness. Okay, will there be any other screens related to work object? So related to work object, I'll get this one, or all the assignments showing in this way, or at the last. This is also part of work object ID only. Will there be any other screens related to showing work object information? Anyone, online or offline? It will be there. What is that? Tell me.
Clipboard page.
No. Clipboard page is not like the things what user will be seeing, right? So I'm talking about this kind of user related things, where I can see work object information in the front end screen. That's what I'm asking. Okay. If I just click on this one, what I'll get? Instances. Okay. So if I open any of the thing, is it not showing related to work object ID? And we're getting some different view here, right? So there might be different harness also, no? What is that? Review. So total, how many harness we have for work object screens? 4. Very important. So there will be 4 harnesses. Suppose if I just go to home here, and if I use live UI, so 100% there should be one harness. So it should be other than these 4, no? Or any of these 4. It should be other than these 4. So there will be something related to PZ Studio, I guess. PZ Studio. Can you make any changes for PZ Studio? Can you make any changes for rules starting with PZ? PZ then change? No.
No, encrypted.
So that is different story. Yeah, will not work on this OOTP harness. So we'll just bother about harness related to work objects only. Now, if I'm trying to run the case. So till now we have seen running work object ID traditional way. If I am running this case, then is this similar kind of screen or something different? If I use live UI, what is the harness? What is the harness? Is this related to work object ID or not? I can see number also. This is related to work object ID. If I click on create, what might be the harness? Same and so before screen and this screen is it looking same? What might be the harness? Different, huh? What I'm seeing? So if I click on submit screen 2, screen 3, last screen, confirm. So what are we
Confirm.
understanding? Yeah, for work object ID, so there should be 4 harnesses. If I'm running the flow rule, traditionally these 4 are applicable, and if I'm running the flow rule in case steps, these 4 are getting applicable, right? Are we seeing anything new there? No. So new harness is being used only in the traditional way. So this is the behavior what we are seeing from 8.6. Suppose if you are working in 8.4 or before that or anything, in any of the older versions, there is nothing like py create. Only 4. From this particular latest version 8.5 or 8.6, we are getting total 5. Okay, and as a whole, only 4 will be applicable. If I'm running flow in traditional way, these 4. If not, these 4. That's it. Nothing more than that. So finally, we are understanding work object related harnesses: new, perform, confirm, and review. Now, suppose if I'm running flow rule traditional, I'm getting a screen. Maybe I'll get this screen for the first time. So here I can able to make some modifications. My BA will say like modify this screen just to include terms and conditions. Just to include terms and conditions or some kind of instructions or agreement related things. What I have to do? So I have to open its harness first. Harness, there I can see all the sections. If you want it to include one more section, create and drag and drop. That's it. Okay, fine. So here I can make some changes. So from the design perspective, I can make changes and I can include some text box also, your name and your place, considering it like an agreement confirm. So I can enter something, right? I can enter something. If I click on create, next I'll get this screen. Here I can enter something. Screen 2, we can enter screen 3. And if we come to the last screen, here, suppose if I'm opening live UI and going for confirm harness, I'm opening it. I'm including a section, listen carefully, and in that section I'm including a text box. I'll include this section. So here I have to see my changes, right? So I have to get the text box also now. Can I type it or not? Can I make any modifications during runtime or not? What is confirm harness? Confirming what? No further changes. No further changes. So whatever the design we make in this confirm harness, this is 100% read only. You include 100 text boxes, everything will be kept read only directly here. And suppose if I'm opening this one, maybe if I'm opening this screen, so use live UI, go to review harness, include a section. In that section, include 100 text boxes. So that should be loaded up. So those text boxes will be read only or editable? Just guess. What is review meaning? Review, not further changes, right? So 100% read only. Okay. So now tell me whether new harness is editable or not. 100%. Confirm, sorry, perform. and confirm and review and py create. So you have to understand what is editable harness, what is read-only harness. Out of this, new and perform are editable. So just keep this aside. New and perform are editable. Remaining two things are read-only. So this is what you have to understand. Now, complicated things are here, like if I'm running the flow rule, okay, consider this as the flow rule. If I'm running the flow rule, what I'm saying, so I can see this screen if that setting is kept. So I can straight away see this screen. Am I seeing any reference number here? Work object ID is not happening. Or if I open clipboard and check for PYID, will there be anything? So in this screen, I see this as the PYID. What I'm asking is, in this screen, if I open clipboard, first tell me, will there be pure page or not? Tell me whether there will be pure page or not. No. Okay. So pure page undadu అని అంటున్నారు. And suppose in this new harness, I am including a text box. I am giving Chandra as my name, signature, considering like terms and conditions. And if I click on submit button, I have to go to the next screen where my this particular place and name will be stored. Is this not part of work object ID? Work object ID information where it has to be stored in clipboard. మరి లేకపోతే ఎలా అంతేనా? So if I just click on clipboard, pure page should be there. It is there. Okay. Now if I click on this, I should be seeing some properties on the right side. What will be the value for PYID? PYID untunda? If I click on this,
temporary
if I search for, no, I did not do anything like temporary also, right? Control F, PYID. Is it showing anything? No. So PYID is not even created still. So PYID meaning work object ID, when it will be created? If I click on create button. So if I click on create button, my work object ID will be created. Next screen will be taking me to. So the important point here is how work object ID will be created technically. If this is your entry question, what you'll say? So how work object ID will be created? So with our knowledge, what we'll say? So I'll just go somewhere here. I'll run the flow rule. These things you'll see. They will again repeat the question saying like how it will be created technically. Don't talk like business analyst or a tester or a real user. How this will be created technically, meaning, so you'll say like I'll run the flow. Okay, if I run the flow, work object ID should create, right? So you'll say like I'll run the flow, and they'll ask you, if we go to process tab and mark it like something default, if I'm marking it like default, we'll get this screen. So here, will we get any idea or not? Will we get any idea or not? No. Then how can you say flow rule is responsible? I have executed the flow rule, but still I'm not seeing any ID. How can you say flow rule is responsible for ID generation? So
PY
our
default.
earlier class, yeah. So our earlier class, the statement is like flow rule is responsible for ID generation. Is this true now? Is this true now? కాదు కదా. Suppose if I'm skipping this, I'm selecting PY case management default. If I run the flow rule, ID got generated. Is this statement true now? How a statement be true in both the scenarios? Can a question have yes or no both the answers at a time? No. So we're understanding flow rule is responsible for creating work object ID, but this is not 100% true. Not 100% true, only 50%. You could not justify remaining 50%. So what is happening here? If I'm running this flow rule, I can see this screen. Let's talk about negative scenario. I can see this screen. In this screen, if I click on create, actually I have to go to the next screen, then ID generation will happen. Now tell me, is flow rule responsible for ID generation, or this screen is responsible for ID? This screen, what is this called technically? Harness. What is this harness name? That's fair. New harness. Okay. So if I run the flow rule, I can see new harness. So new harness is responsible for my ID generation. Correct or not? So flow rule is responsible for ID. That is not 100% correct. I'm modifying statement saying like new harness is responsible for ID generation. Correct or not? Correct. Suppose here I'm skipping that new harness. If I select PY case management default, new harness will be skipped. And if I run it, new harness is completely skipped. How can you say new harness is responsible in this case then? So how can we say new harness is responsible? If I say flow rule is responsible, scenario 1 will break. And if I say new harness is responsible, other scenario will break. So how work object ID will be created technically? So this is very, very important introduction. So you have to understand that. So what is happening? Consider if this is default, then we'll get new harness, meaning flow rule is not completely responsible. If I run the flow, new harness should be somewhere launched, and if I click on create, then we see ID generation. First of all, we'll understand what will happen on clicking on this create. So if I click on create, some action should be happening and ID generations will be there. So here fact statement is like new harness is completely responsible for ID generation. All the scenarios, in all the cases, new harness is only responsible for ID generation. So how can we justify for the scenario 2 then? Suppose if I'm skipping this, if I'm selecting like PY case management default, I will never see new harness. Then how can we justify this statement? Even in this case, if I run the flow rule, my new harness will be loaded and it will be just hidden. That's it. So it will be just hidden. If I run this, my new harness will be loaded automatically. This create button also will be done. So this will be loaded. Whatever the action we are doing manually here, that will be automatically done. So create button will be auto clicked kind of, and its related things happens. So 100% fact statement is like new harness is responsible. New harness is responsible. Suppose you are making modifications in this new harness. Suppose if you are removing these buttons, cancel and create. Cancel and create, you are removing. Now if you run the flow rule, you'll get this new harness. And will you get any option to go to the next screen? Will you get any option to create ID? Then how can you say new harness is responsible? Then how can you say new harness is responsible? So within new harness, the create button is responsible. Okay. So ultimately flow rule, within flow rule, new harness, and within new harness, these create buttons. So if in interview, if anyone asks you how the ID generation happens, you have to say like flow rule will be having our new harness. New harness will be having some create button. In that create button, there will be some action. So we'll trace it and check. So there will be some action. That action is responsible for ID generation. Suppose if you're skipping this new harness, then this will be automatically done. Okay. ID can never be created by skipping this, without this. Fine. So we're understanding there is lot of importance of this new harness. Where this harness is called? If I run the flow, I can see this option, this screen. Where this is being called? So if I just open flow rule, there will be something called harness to be showing by default. What is it showing? New harness. If we change to something else, that will be showing up. So meaning whenever I run the flow rule, first this particular harness to be launched, and if we click on submit or create, this harness will be submitted, ID generation happens, and then it will come back to this diagram tab. Okay, so first what it has to do? So first it has to execute this harness, and once this is submitted, it has to do some actions, and then property setting, meaning py default data transform, and then it has to come back to the diagram tab. It has to execute from here. My assignment shape will be loaded, and it has to load the flag action, everything. So this is the core functionality. You have to understand the core concepts. So straight away, if you run a flow, I'll get the output, meaning that is not the answer to be given by a developer like you. Okay, so that is just like a process related things. This is technical related things. Okay, fine. Now we can understand that this particular new harness is responsible. So where this is being called? From the flow rule. Now if I just submit all the things, I'll come to the start shape, then after this assignment shape. Once this assignment shape is loaded, in the output what I'm seeing? Some different perform harness. So perform harness should be called somewhere, right? Where it might be called? Ikkada call chestuntadu. New harness. Okay, so this will be called on the assignment shape. So if I double click on this, there will be something called harness. Okay, there perform harness will be there. What will be there for the second assignment shape? What will be there for third assignment shape? And what will be there for this end shape? Let me check. So is there anything to call an harness here? So here I'll have for assignment shapes I will have. There it will be perform. What we'll have on this? Generally I have to get confirm, but it is not showing up anything here. From where this is being called? So
Include
it will be
connector.
called, no, it will be called here. If any assignment is not being performed, call something called confirm. So it has to show confirm harness. Okay, fine. So finally, we're understanding what is a harness, how new harness is responsible for ID generation, and how this will be loading all the things. So we have to understand more technical things, what is happening on clicking on create button. Okay, and what is happening by just loading this perform harness. If I load the perform harness, I can see this top bar showing up, and I can able to see this right side bar and our actual fraction section, and we can see some buttons also. So are these the buttons what we have created? So these buttons should be in what rule then? Harness. So if we just open our respect to rule, I have to see these buttons. That is the reason these buttons will be available in all the assignment shapes. So in the perform harness, this is being included. Okay. So in the perform harness, this is being included. Okay. So I have to continue more, but I don't think we have enough time for today. So finally, we are having these things. Suppose if we go to case types, what is the harness used? First one, py create. Is that editable or not? Is it editable or not? If I am running case types, then how work object ID will be generated? So if I'm running this case types, okay. So by this time I'm seeing number, right? Then how can you say this is responsible? Before that it got created, right? What is that? New harness one. Okay. So there will be one thing extra here. All the time new harness is responsible for running all these things, and that is editable. And in new harness there will be create button, and in that create button there will be lot of OOTP activities. I'll show you that tomorrow. So once that is completed, it will be creating ID and data will be stored everything on py work page because of py default data transform, and remaining further actions will happen.